Shalom, my friends. Today I want to talk to you about Yom HaShoah. But first, remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. Thank you. So Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 at sundown marks the beginning of Yom HaShoah until the next day at sundown, the 28th. Yom HaShoah is the day selected by Israel to commemorate the Holocaust and remember its victims. It was in 1951, only 6 years after the close of World War II, that Yom HaShoah became an official national memorial day in Israel. Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion established that day as a yearly memorial for the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust. Since then, every year and all over the world, Jewish people remember the Shoah or catastrophe as they perpetuate the memory of their lost loved ones. In Israel, on that day, 2 minutes of silent reflection are observed at 10 a.m. all over the country, as a siren is heard, and it is not unusual to even see motorists stop in the middle of the road or the freeway and get out of their cars to observe that solemn moment. The observance actually became a law when the Knesset voted on it in 1959. So in 2022, more than ever, it is critical to reflect on what General Eisenhower decided to do when he first visited the camps. General Dwight Eisenhower caught the importance of documenting and remembering the Holocaust the minute that he walked inside the camps. As he visited one of the sub-camps of Buchenwald with Generals Bradley and Patton, he started to realize the magnitude of what he was witnessing and immediately wrote a letter to the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General George Marshall. In that letter, this is what he said, and I quote, "The things I saw beggar description. While I was touring the camp, I encountered 3 men who had been inmates and by one ruse or another had made their escape. I interviewed them through an interpreter. The visual evidence and the verbal testimony of starvation, cruelty, and bestiality were so overpowering as to leave me a bit sick. I made the visit deliberately in order to be in a position to give first-hand evidence of these things if ever in the future there develops a tendency to charge these allegations merely to propaganda." And yet, despite the commendable efforts made by Eisenhower and others, the Holocaust currently runs the risk of being relegated into some obscure corner of history. Even worse, some will soon believe that it simply never happened. There are several things that we shouldn't do on such an important memorial day as Yom HaShoah. So number 1, do not promote or commit Holocaust distortion. For some very morbid reason, some people around the globe feel the urge to distort the Holocaust and use some of its symbols inappropriately. The yellow Star of David patch, the patch used by Nazis to identify Jews during World War II, has been misused in many ways over the years. Up to recently, being used in the context of COVID as a horrific yellow star with the words COVID cost, like Holocaust, COVID cost in it. We could also call this actually a case of cultural appropriation done in very poor taste. Number 2, do not use double standards. Nobody is denying the Cambodian genocide of 3 million people from 75 to 79, or the Armenian genocide of 1.5 million from 16 to 22, or even the Rwandan genocide of 650,000 in 1994. Yet for some unexplained reason, many pseudo-historians are spending time and resources to prove that the Holocaust never happened. Why would people be so focused on one single ethnic cleansing and not question the others? Is it possible that since the Holocaust is about Jewish people and anti-Semitism is alive and well, the Holocaust suffers at the hands of historical revisionists to promote their xenophobic agenda? I think it is possible. I think it is what's happening. Number 3, do not minimize the Holocaust. Historically speaking, the Shoah is a unique genocide for at least one reason. It is the only attempt at annihilating a people group, the Jews, by even going outside of the area where they resided to gather them and bring them back to their certain death. It was an orchestrated, organized attempt at the total destruction of European Jewry. With all other genocides, as brutal as they might have been, there was always a way for potential victims to escape and or immigrate. This was rarely the case for the Jews during the Holocaust years. So some claim that the Holocaust never happened. Some claim that it was greatly exaggerated. Some claim that it was used as Jewish propaganda for the State of Israel, and some think that we talk too much about it. The frightening truth is that according to a recent survey by the ADL, 1/3 of the world population believes the Holocaust was a myth. 1/3. With the remnant of survivors dwindling to a handful of nonagenarians, which is 90 years old or older, things are not looking up for the accurate historical preservation of the Jewish catastrophe unless people of goodwill, like you and me, speak up. This year, on Yom HaShoah, wherever you are in the world, anywhere in the world, why don't you take 2 minutes in your day at 10 a.m. and spend it in prayer for the Jewish people? Pray that history will not be revised. Pray the remaining survivors would have opportunities to tell their stories to their communities. Pray that Holocaust deniers would be silenced or have a miraculous change of heart. Pray that the Jewish people would find their Messiah in the person of Yeshua of Nazareth. And pray that history would not repeat itself. This is all done in memory of my grandfather, Maurice Weinzveig, born December 4th, 1898 in Olika, Russia, and who perished in Auschwitz. 1 victim out of 6 million. Never again. Shalom.